Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Humanizing AI. We will be discussing how you can build better customer-centric marketing with Persado's new Bronto integration. My name is Alyssa, and I am an account executive at Persado. We also have Karolina on the line, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, my name is Karolina Michalak, and I am the partner manager for Bronto. I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you for joining.
Great. So we're really excited to give some insight into the Bronto Persado partnership. So before we get started, just a quick note, we will be doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions that pop up during our chat, please feel free to submit it for us to review at the end. If you look to the bottom left corner, you should find a little chat box. So please direct your inquiries there. Now here's a look at our agenda. Karolina will dive deeper into Bronto and explain how to create personalized customer experiences that build long-term relationships. I'll cover how Persado uses artificial intelligence to humanize that customer experience, and then I'll go over some case studies of Bronto customers who are already leveraging this technology. So with that, I'll hand it over to Karolina.
Perfect. Thank you, Alyssa. So yeah, thank you for joining, guys. I hope you have a delicious lunch in front of you, and thank you for sparing this hour. So as I mentioned before, I work for Oracle Bronto, and I don't know if you guys have heard about Bronto before, but we do marketing automation. We are a platform, and we really allow you to do sophisticated marketing, but still keeping the ease of use. We work today with about 1,500 brands, and I will today walk you through a little bit more about personalization and why that is so important. So let's kickstart this. So what is personalization and why is it so important? Shoppers today, they expect a different type of experience. They want to have something authentic, personalized dialogue with the retailer. They want to be recognized. At the same time, they want to have a frictionless shopping journey. So they really want to create this relationship, right? So in order to create these meaningful, deep relationships with the customers, you need to know who they are and what they're interested in. So you want to create a continuous conversation with the customer. So you need to reach them in the right place at the right time, but also across multiple channels and touch points. So it sounds really complicated, right? So where do you start? We are strong advocates of starting working with your email. Why? Because email is still the top revenue-driving online channel. Email is still the most effective tool to drive traffic to your site. And this is really the place where you can work on your direct voice to your customers, so the place where your brand comes to life. So most of you here know probably that the biggest sin in email marketing is spamming your database. So basically sending out the same email to everyone that opted in. So it's really easy to do one of these campaigns, right? It's quite easy to just do one offer. But when you track the performance of a campaign like this, you'll notice that deliveries, opens, clicks, and conversions are not that great. So efficient to create, but extremely poor performance. And this is the problem when you do a batch and blast. You just assume that everyone's the same. It's a one-size-fits-all approach. So what should you be doing? So instead of doing the one-size-fits-all approach, personalization makes a huge difference. So if you decide to segment your database, you can create personal messages and vary with the content. So you can promote different type of products and perhaps also vary the subject line in those emails. Everything to appeal each individual segment. Now, the more you tailor your messages, the better your KPI metrics, right? You'll notice that everything looks better. Your open rates, your click-through rates. You'll notice that consumers are spending more time on your site. You'll have more page views, and you also see more conversions. ultimately higher average order values. So these are a lot of metrics, but everything's showing a plus, right? Everything will at some point generate more revenue for you. So the conclusion is that the deeper segmentation you have, you'll see an increased performance. I hope that makes sense, right? So we'll keep going. And so what do customers want? What is expected from your brand? Now, you need to consider each customer's uniqueness. They are different, right? So everyone has a unique preference, a different location, a different browsing and purchasing history. So you need to really make sure to not send irrelevant information. Don't send promotions for articles that they have already purchased. I know still a lot of people do that, but that's a hygiene factor, right? You need to make customers feel they're appreciated, and appreciation doesn't always come in discounts. It doesn't mean it needs to be a monetary appreciation. It could be just sending them an invitation to a special event for top customers, or, for example, off-hours shopping. You could also show appreciation by being a helping hand, so giving them advice on previous purchases, or best practices, or promoting a local activity. There's a lot of things you can do that are not salesy, but still offer customers something more. Finally, customers also want convenience, so you need to make sure you have the right information at the right time. So, for example, offering the local store hours or giving the number to customer service, really making sure that everything from order confirmation to transactional email all the way to other marketing emails, they need to be connected and they need to make sense. So the conclusion is that don't e-blast your entire database, and if you don't follow the rules of personalization, you will potentially harm your brand. You might lose your subscribers that you've worked so hard to get, and you might lose on sales ultimately. So I'm going to run through a very simple example for you guys. I want you to meet Chloe. Chloe looks very rested, I don't know where she's been on holiday, but it can't be London. So Chloe is 25. She lives in London. She loves skirts and dresses. Pink is her favorite color. Chloe loves shopping online. The only thing is now Chloe's facing a challenge because she's been invited to a wedding. And weddings are great, but as you know, a lot of women stress out because they need to find the right outfit for this big event. So Chloe's one of these girls, and she has been running around on Oxford Circus searching with no success. So as you can tell, Chloe is panicking. So this is a less perfect Chloe being really frustrated. So in the past, Chloe opted in with 2 different retailers that she's shopped with previously, and they have emailed her. So once she received emails from both of them, she thought, I might as well check them out. So if we have a look at retailer A. So Chloe received this email. First of all, the subject line was all in caps lock, so she wasn't sure what virus she was going to get opening it up. So it looked quite aggressive, to be honest. She clicked on it, kept going, and could see that the spring collection was being promoted. Great. The only thing was that they've been promoting a mix of products. So it included shirts for men, belts, and one dress. Chloe didn't really like the dress that much, but she decided to visit the website just to see, what else they had in stock. So she did an extensive search on the website. She powered through a lot of content before she could find the actual dress. Unfortunately, it was sold out, so that was a bit of a bummer. So let's just take a moment here and just think about all the things that could have gone better. Bring your thoughts to retailer B. So Chloe opened the second email, and this one was more of a personal greeting. She could see in the subject line had her name, so it felt more personal. There were a few cute emojis, and I mean, who doesn't like a good emoji? You could see there were a lot of products displayed, but most of them were dresses. I mean, this is perfect. This is exactly what she's looking for. You could also tell that there were a few other products featured which were trending with shoppers similar to Chloe, so that was great. And then there were one dress that was highlighted in pink. So obviously this captured Chloe's attention. She went to the website to view the dress more in detail. Unfortunately, she couldn't find the dress in store either. It was out of stock. But because of her mobile app that she downloaded for the same store, she was actually notified when the pink dress she liked was back in stock, and she could get it just in the store next door. That sounds pretty amazing, right? So I think we can all agree that retailer B did a lot better than retailer A. Chloe finished, she ended up buying the dress with retailer B, and it could have been the same dress, but the experience was just so much better. Now, how do you go from retailer A to retailer B? You need to make sure that you have the holistic view of the customer. So you collect and store all this information, but make sure you use it across all shopping channels. So, for example, mobile as well as website as well as an email. When you have all this data, make sure you use automation. Create dynamic segments and in real-time campaigns so that you really can capture this customer and their interests. And remember, giving a great experience moves shoppers to buyers and ultimately buyers to repeat customers. So guys, this kind of brings me to the end slide. I know this is very high level and we'll dive into more details as we go, but in order to create these relationships with the customers, working with segmentation is really key. So when you capture data such as age, average order value, interests, location, all these things will really help you to create relevant and engaging content. And ultimately, as a retailer, what you're interested in is, of course, drive up your revenue. That's the dream. That's where we all want to go. So if you want to take your email to the next level, we will now talk a little bit further about how predictive content, so how that can create an even more personalized experience. So I will hand it over to Alyssa, and she walks through how to take personalization with predictive content to the next level.
Great. Thanks, Karolina. Perfect place for me to come in right at the end at the customer's last mile. As marketers, you're already pouring time and resources into shaping your customer's experience. You have tons of data around who to reach out to, what channels to use, which product to offer. Bronto's capabilities are exceptional in supporting these efforts, as Karolina just touched on. When it comes to that last step, it is hard to know that the language you're using is actually the best possible content that you can put out there. That's where Persado comes in. Persado is an artificial intelligence platform that uses our knowledge base and a learning technology to discover and generate the exact language that will resonate with your audience. Over 200 brands already use our platform to find higher performing content around the globe and across all verticals. So let's get to it. Artificial intelligence is becoming a huge player in marketing technology, but it is still a new concept for many. To ease into it a little bit, let's start with the more tangible analogy of Scrabble. I am personally an avid player of word games, and Scrabble just happens to be one of my favorites. For those that aren't as familiar, in Scrabble you have an assortment of letters and have to combine them to play a word on the board. Your opponent has their own pool of letter tiles, so you're both trying to create higher scoring words, and in the end, whoever has the most points wins. The problem here is that I can only come up with words that I'm currently aware of. So if we're looking at this image, I can be the confused guy on the left. Now let's imagine my opponent is playing and they have a dictionary with them. This puts them at an unfair advantage, as there is no way I will be able to come up with the highest scoring word when they have literally every single word at their fingertips. So in marketing, just like in Scrabble, some words are worth more. The difference in this analogy is that when it comes to your marketing content, it's not a game. So that, again, is where the power of Persado comes in. We are the marketing language cloud, the world's largest and ever-growing collection of language. Our artificial intelligence generates the specific words and phrases that will resonate with your audience, and then continues to learn from their responses. So instead of relying on the language that you already know, our language cloud opens up your vocabulary to the entire vast universe of words and phrases. This gives you the possibility to explore and test language that you may never have previously considered using in your copy, and better performing language at that. So how exactly do we do this? Persado runs on over 1 million curated emotional and motivational words and phrases collected over several years and scored against response data from over 50 billion impressions. Various message elements are coded to make them understandable to the machine. So from the start, Persado is using this knowledge base of historically highly engaging content to generate new language for you. It then continues to learn from its performance in the market and generate specific language that will resonate with your customers. So at the powerhouse of our language cloud is emotional content. We have found, in line with findings from third-party researchers, that at least 60% of response variance in any interaction can be attributed to making an emotional connection. So despite how loyal your customers are, how massive your sale is, or how interesting your newsletter content is, at the end of the day, it's making an emotional connection that's really going to cut through the noise in your inbox. So great, let's try making our content more emotional. But how do we know which emotions to use? Do we even know when we are using emotions? When I ask people if they are already actively working emotion into their marketing, what we usually find is that marketers do commonly use some things like urgency or anxiety. This makes sense in a promotional context. So let's think about all the emails you get that are last chance for 50% off or hurry while supplies last. To us, this time constraint may seem like the most important detail of the campaign that we want to get across. But to consumers who are seeing this language 50 times over each day, they start to think, okay, is this really the last chance? To combat this, Persado's data scientists built out our language cloud with 15 unique emotions. So maybe evoking a sense of achievement by saying, you deserve this, will speak more to your audience than saying something like, act now. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are constantly trying to connect with others. This is something that's easy to grasp in person. So imagine in a store. Imagine a salesperson attempting to read a customer's signals and behaviors to help them find what they're looking for. Maybe the customer seems a bit shy. They're admiring a dress, but confess they don't frequently make pricey purchases for themselves. The salesperson may soften their approach to accommodate to their softer tone and walk the customer through the details of the purchase. Without this human interaction, it's really hard to know what will resonate with your audience. So Persado has taken away this guesswork for you. By replicating the complexity of human emotions in our technology, our AI can actually learn from your audience. So the machine essentially reads these behaviors digitally, discovering the precise language and emotions that resonate with your customers. So in this way, Persado humanizes our AI to help strengthen your customer experience. Let's take a look at how this applies in the real world. The emotions in our wheel should be familiar to all, at least on a subconscious level. But we do see a wide variation in what works in marketing depending on many different things. Could be the type of email, the vertical of the company, or the location. Take a look at the results of a recent study we conducted comparing emotional averages across countries. In the United Kingdom, anxiety and guilt were actually the top performing emotions. So these emails alert the consumer about the importance of its contents, or use phrases like, don't miss out, or don't ignore this. Interestingly enough, the United States also had anxiety as a top performer. However, the main emotion that resonates there is actually achievement. So it seems U.S. consumers generally prefer being praised rather than being warned about something. Finally, Europe had entirely different results, they responded best to gratification and gratitude. So EU consumers are more excited by the promise of value or acknowledgement. This is an interesting thing to observe, especially for some of our international customers. So maybe they've locked in on a promotion, a new product launch, and yet exactly how they present this offer, exactly how they word it, could have a vastly different effect on their audience, depending on where they are. Okay, that's a lot of information. So now you're thinking, okay, got it, we're emotional, but how does this all work? Our self-service platform, Pro Email, allows you to tap into this knowledge base of language and emotions and optimize your campaigns. So it looks very much like what you're seeing on the screen. You provide the machine with some information on your campaign, what's your vertical, the email type, what is your campaign actually about. You then push that through the platform and let the AI work its magic. Our technology will identify relevant campaigns, industry averages, historical data to generate variants of your subject line. And with our seamless integration, you can easily push this content to Bronto and deploy your split test. The results then flow back to our platform, so you can see a performance report with emotional insights from your campaign, and the winner is easily deployed to the remainder of your audience. As you continue to run Persado experiments, the machine learning will kick in, so the content it continues to generate will be more and more tailored to what your audience actually wants to hear. Here you can see a screen grab of our Chrome extension. So again, you can easily get your Persado optimized content right over to Bronto by using Persado Connect. It really takes just a matter of minutes to generate your Persado experiment and then push that to Bronto, so it's pretty easy to add us into your existing workflow. But in the meantime, how can you get started? As Bronto users, you already have free access to our supplemental feature, Pro Email Starter. Here you can upload data sets of your previous subject lines to create a historical performance chart of emotions. So in this example, it looks like this customer is doing a pretty good job of using many different emotions. But again, if you look at the two bars for urgency, it looks like this is the emotion they are primarily using, even though it's a low performer for their audience. If we look at the other end of the graph, curiosity and achievement have excellent open rates, but have hardly been tested. So there's definitely a lot more exploring to be done over there. This is how you can get started right off the bat. Thanks to our partnership with Bronto, we have a nifty little Persado button that we've embedded within the platform. If you click this little button next to your subject line, you will be prompted to set up your free Persado account. So aside from being able to generate historical insights like you just saw, you can also drop in your subject lines and get quick predictions on how well the machine thinks they will perform. So you can compare them against industry averages or even against your own data sets that you uploaded. If it looks like your subject line is going to underperform, check out some of our suggestions or our emotional phrase alternatives. All right, so now I just want to take you through a couple case studies of some of our mutual Bronto clients. This is Daily Sale. They used Persado to optimize here one of their promotional retail campaigns. If we look at the original subject line, hurry, all items on sale now, we can see that there's a lot of anxiety and urgency surrounding this sale announcement. The winning Persado variant used exclusivity to better connect with their audience. So instead we have, to you, from us, you're getting exclusive access. I've spent a lot of time talking about our emotional values, but Persado looks at many other elements in your content, including descriptive phrases, formatting, and positioning. Descriptive phrases are what your campaign is actually about. So in this case, the original descriptive phrase is all items on sale. The platform will test a large variation in this language. Some variants will focus on descriptive language, others will be just emotional. In this case, the winning variant muted that descriptive element, prioritizing making an emotional connection. And this optimized content in the end is what delivered a 15% conversion uplift and 34% click uplift. Let's take a look at this retail customer now. In this example, their winning variant had several different elements at play. The machine generated a variant that opens with a series of symbols. Symbols and emojis fall under our formatting category. As Karolina said, who doesn't love a good emoji? They are something that we see really driving engagement for many brands. So again here, instead of focusing on the time-sensitive element of this campaign, sale begins today, the winning variant uses curiosity and safety to establish a stronger connection with, we've got a surprise. And finally, the winning variant does use a descriptive phrase, 20% off, an element that wasn't highlighted in the original subject line. So this ended up driving 68% more conversions and 64% more clicks. Next, we have a case study in the media vertical. FuboTV drove 32% more opens by sending out a variant with anxiety and achievement. It is interesting, however, to note their best and worst emotions, which you can see on the right. By testing with us over a long period of time, Persado has been able to determine the 3 top performing emotions for them are luck, safety, and intimacy. The 3 that are the least effective for FuboTV are challenge, curiosity, and achievement. That being said, humans are dynamic, and so these top and bottom performers will not stay static. The benefit of using Persado is that it accounts for this dynamic nature. The technology will track what your audience is responding best to at that time, but will continue to test new things. It'll test all around the wheel of emotions. It's always going to try finding language that will continue to be engaging. So in this case, achievement helped drive a 54% higher click-through rate, despite usually being a low performer for them. Last but not least, here's a case study from one of our fashion retail customers, Paul Frederick. Persado's winning variant drove an 18% click rate uplift by evoking a sense of achievement. Here, the machine is also testing variations of the product description and learning from the use of the brand name. Like their CRM manager, Caitlin, said, it's not always easy writing subject lines, especially when it sometimes takes 2 hours to figure out a new way to say 20% off plus free shipping. Persado can expedite this process, eliminate the guesswork behind content creation, and still humanize your outreach. So that's what we have prepared for you today. I wanted to take this time right now just to thank you all for your attention. And now we're going to open it up to questions. I think I saw a few trickle through here. So first we have, how is Bronto different from other ESPs in terms of personalization? I'll hand that off to Karolina.
Thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, first of all, thank you for those really interesting slides. I'm still laughing about the fact that UK is so driven by guilt and anxiety, so that was something new. So yeah, back to your question. It's a kind of a broad question, but what I can say is that a lot of our customers come from MailChimp, so we are very much a graduation story. Once you start growing and you're gaining a lot more data, you are at some point you want to create a deeper segments or more sophisticated workflows. So what happens is that you start feeling these limitations. So that's really when you take the next step to something slightly more sophisticated. We're still very much a graduation story, so we're still very easy to use by marketers. So not a tool you should be afraid of using. Now, more about personalization, we do everything we can to build in our platform more recommendations, so try to predict what customers want to buy even before they know themselves what they want to buy, and really working on segmentations in a granular way and trying to work on workflows in a very detailed way. So cart recovery is really important for us. We really try to go into different phases of that whole process to really have a personal experience. So that's kind of the bigger picture of how we differentiate ourselves.
Perfect. Thanks for that. I have one I think I'll take. So we showed examples of Bronto customers using Persado, but how sustainable are these results? So this is a good question. We get this quite frequently. Of course, when we show you case studies for specific campaigns, they look great. You could shrug it off as a one-off, however. But the benefit of Persado's technology is that the fact that it's actually learning. So yes, we can deliver great results in a standalone because we are working off this historical knowledge base of language. But the real value for you comes by continuing to test. So the machine starts to develop a linguistic, emotional profile of your audience, if you will. So the language that it generates down the line will be more and more tailored to your customers. So we are able to see sustainable results because really the machine doesn't figure out your top emotions, your lowest emotions, and then just call it a day. By continuing to test, the machine is going to continue to learn what speaks to your audience and will adjust according to what they are actually responding to. Karolina, we have a follow-up from what you just answered. You mentioned the word workflow, but how is that different from a segment? Sorry to jump back, switch gears a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. So there's a lot of buzzwords in the industry that we sometimes forget that sometimes they're new words. But basically, segments come back to what we spoke about. That's basically a cluster of data. It's a category of people. That could be your VIP buyers or your lapsed purchasers. While a workflow is more of a process. So it's an automated series of messages. So for example, when A happens, B gets triggered. So you could really do workflows with segments. So you could have your VIP buyers, which is your best segment, and then build a workflow around that. So when VIP purchaser A does this, then this will happen. If they do the other thing will happen. So you can really try to build very sophisticated workflows by working with different segments. So that's the core and the basics of how you create automation. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Thank you, Alyssa.
Perfect. Thank you. Looks like we have one more question. If anyone else has a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. But the last question that we have for now is, will AI replace marketers anytime soon? Karolina, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but this is probably one of the questions that we at Persado get asked the most frequently, especially being in this corner of marketing technology. So we're certainly not trying. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was going to say feel free to answer that one because you guys are the expert of AI. I have attended a lot of, in this industry, a lot of conferences and the topic of AI, and they all spiral out and people talk about, all jobs being, people made redundant and cars driving themselves and things like that. So, but when it comes to marketing, I think you guys are the experts, so feel free.
Sure. Yeah, so of course that's the nightmare vision that tends to pop into everyone's minds thanks to some pretty great science fiction movies. However, we're definitely not trying to replace marketers, so we're not over here creating robots. We're creating a technology that can make marketers stronger. So we're trying to help with this, I guess, tricky to navigate area that really is language, that is so unique and personal in its own nature. So although we want to generate content for you that will perform better than the content that you started with, we're still working off of an idea that came from a human. And then the technology is, after that, learning from all the other humans that you send this content to. So I guess it's sort of this cyclic process where we inspire the machine, and then the machine inspires us, and repeat. So I know artificial intelligence can be a frightening conversation for some, but we really are already using it in other facets of marketing technology. So Persado wanted to provide that same level of data in an area that is otherwise hard to tackle. I keep seeing all these posts saying AI is the future, and it is, but it's here now too, and we don't need to be terrified of it. Cool. Well, I think that's it. I don't see any other questions coming through. So I think on that, we'll close the webinar. Just want to thank everyone again for attending and for listening in.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Really appreciated it. Hope you learned something.
Bye now.